So again, welcome. Thank you all for coming to our webinar today. If you didn't see, this is one of a whole series we're doing all summer in Library of the Health Sciences, where we are giving webinars every Tuesday at 1 p.m. other than the week of 4th of July. And yeah, hopefully this is helpful to refresh your memory on PubMed, or if you're new to using PubMed or feel like you don't fully understand it, hopefully this will be a good opportunity to learn some new things. So our agenda is pretty brief, so I'm just going to introduce myself. Then we'll do a quick overview of PubMed, what it is, why you should use it. We'll talk about some basic searching. We'll talk about mesh terms, and we'll talk about advanced searching. And hopefully we'll have time at the end for Q&A. I definitely think we will. So just housekeeping notes, this session is being recorded. If you've registered for the session, that means you will be getting a copy of the recording after this is done. And please, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them in the chat. And my colleague Amelia Brunskill is here. She will be fielding any brief questions or pointing them out to me. If it's a really complicated question, we might save it for the end, but otherwise we'll try to take questions as they come in. So please feel free to ask them. Okay, so a brief introduction to me. Hello, I'm Emily Gilbert. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am an assistant professor in the university library. I'm also a liaison librarian to the College of Medicine. And I work out of Library of the Health Sciences in Chicago, and my email is right there. So if you're in College of Medicine, I may have had the chance to meet you, but it's also totally possible that we haven't met yet because medicine is massive and I've only been here for about 1.5 years. So anyway, delighted that you're all here regardless of what college you're coming from. So I just want to start out with a quick poll about your familiarity with PubMed. So you can use your phone to scan the QR code and then enter your answer, or you can go to slido.com and put in the number there. And the number, if anyone needs it read out, is 6816-393, and that's slido.com, SLIDO. And we'll give it, oh, thanks, Amelia. And we'll give it a little bit to let everyone put in their answers. No one has said they're a pro yet, but also no one has said they're totally lost, so that's good. But if that is you, that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. So far, it looks like most of you are somewhere in the middle. You feel like you can find most of what you need, or basic searching is okay, but advanced functions maybe a little less so. That is perfectly reasonable. It is not your job to know every function in PubMed. It's our job here in the library. So that's why we are so glad you're here and we can share some of that info with you. So thanks for giving me a sense of what your baseline is. That's really helpful. So moving on to the next slide, I'm sure you're familiar, but just for a little refresher on some PubMed basics. So it is, of course, a biomedical literature database, very popular in North America, considering it is from the National Library of Medicine and has a very strong North American focus. So there are actually over 26 million citations in PubMed. So there is a lot going on, and navigating that can certainly be a challenge. It is what we call a bibliographic database, which means it is citation and abstract only, or at least that's what is guaranteed to, hopefully guaranteed to be present there. However, some of the articles are open access. So in that case, you would be able to just view the full text right on PubMed, or they would have a link for free full text. As long as you are entering through a library link when you use PubMed, you can always click Find It at UIC to see if we have the full text in our collection. And if we don't have it in our collection, then you can request it through interlibrary loan. Another good reason to use PubMed is it has very sophisticated search functions. So, you can also link to articles in something like Google Scholar. There is a lot of overlap between PubMed and Google Scholar, but as far as searching, PubMed is light years ahead of what you can do in Google Scholar. You can get very specific about not only like topics that you're searching, but also if you want to use filters for specific types of studies or studies focusing on a specific age group in a certain language. There's a lot you can do to try to get as close to you can as what you're looking for, or get like the most possible results in terms of what you're looking for. And also in PubMed, they do have mesh terms in PubMed, which we'll talk about a little more later. But if you are combining mesh terms and keywords, that is going to get you better results. So let's just start with a quick demo. So let me switch over to Chrome here. Okay, everyone's still seeing Chrome? Are we good? Okay, thanks, Amelia. So from here, this is the library homepage. So from here, there is always this link to PubMed right in the top center. No other specific database gets that like place of honor at the very top of the library page, but it is incredibly popular, like I mentioned, and for good reason, as we have all of these awesome health sciences colleges here at UIC. So I want to point out that if you are entering through the library, once you get to PubMed, it looks just like you would see if you entered pubmed.gov on your browser. But up in the URL, it says UIC lib at the end of the URL. So that means this is a UIC link. So it's connecting to UIC's collection. So that's how you make sure you can get the Find It at UIC book or button in your results, so you can see whether we have the full text of the article. If you just go to pubmed.gov on a computer, like at home, you are just going to get the public version of PubMed, which is not connected to UIC. So if you want to bookmark PubMed just for easy access, make sure you're bookmarking this link with UIC at the end of the URL. And that way you'll make sure you are always connected to our collection. So let's start with just some basic searching. So in this search box here, this is the basic search box on the front page of PubMed. You can just use plain language in here. It's meant for plain language to kind of be used how you would search Google. So like if I wanted to find something on medical racism, whoops, I forgot I was still highlighted up there. Okay, medical racism. So that is going to pull up results from there. It's, we're not playing around with any Boolean operators or mesh terms or filters yet. We literally just use the one keyword, and we can start looking through the results here. So this is just for like a very simple search. If we want to get more complex, we can, and we'll show that in a minute. But just from here, there are still a lot of things you can do to kind of adjust your results so they're closer to what you're trying to find. So this is the general display for the results, where it's showing you the title of each result. Under that, we have the authors, the journal, the date, etc., the DOI. And then it'll give you a little bit of the abstract, like just a couple lines of it. So sometimes that might be enough for you to determine whether this article looks good and you want to explore the full text. Other times you might want to actually read the full abstract first. So if you want to read the full abstract, you could just click on the title. That'll bring you to the complete abstract here. If you scroll down, there's a lot more information, articles that have cited this article, the mesh terms that are applied to this article, which again, we'll get to next. And you'll see this one has a free full text link because this is open access. But then underneath that, we have the Find It at UIC link. So if we click on that, that is going to immediately take us to the PDF. Oh, well, I thought it would. That's weird. Usually it should take you immediately to the PDF. Maybe I got logged out somewhere, but if it doesn't take you right to the PDF, you do have all of these links here for full text availability. So if I click on this one, for example, oh my God, for real? Let's try a different one. That's weird. I was doing this earlier and it was not acting like this. Well, you never know what you're going to get, right? Okay, so this one, it does have like the full article. Oh, yes, it does ask for you to sign in. I'll explain that in a second. That's actually a different thing. But yeah, it is still like this is giving us the full access because it does say up here access provided by U of I. But then under the abstract, we can scroll down and see the full text here. If you click on view PDF, it will show you the PDF format. So we do have the full article either way. It's just usually there is a thing in place that should bypass this page. But let's say we didn't have this article in our collection. We didn't have access to the full text. One thing we could do is check to see if we can request it via interlibrary loan. So that's what this is referring to here. It's actually asking me to sign into my interlibrary loan account, which I do with my NetID. So I'm already signed in on something else. So it's going to just sign me right in. And then it takes us back here, but now if we scroll down, it's showing we have, well, this is print. That's interesting. Okay, down here we have request via interlibrary loan. That link is typically up here as well. Again, the little computer gremlins have to do interesting things when you're teaching, right? But so I'll click on request via interlibrary loan, and that will open up the request form and it will fill in all of this info for you. So as long as you have an interlibrary loan account already set up with your contacts information, then it should just fill all of this information. The only thing you might want to change is like, you know, if it comes after a certain date, you won't need it anymore. You can put that in there and then just submit the request. Pro tip, you can actually use interlibrary loan if you want to get a PDF copy of an article we have in our print collection. We have a really robust print collection of journals going back to the 1800s at least. So for historical articles like that, you know, if there's something that you really want to see, but you don't have time to get over to the library, to like go down to the basement and use the movable stacks, that is okay. You can just submit an interlibrary loan request and our wonderful ILL staff will go pull that article and scan it for you. So just a tip. That's not necessarily related to PubMed though. That's like any article that we have in our collection. Okay, so that's what ILL looks like. Now going back to the results page in PubMed, I'm going to click on search results to get back here. So that there is an option under display here. Like, let's say we really wanted to read all of the abstracts in more depth before we, instead of clicking on each title and then going back, there is another option where you can just go under display options and change the format to abstract format. So this makes the page a lot longer because it's actually displaying the whole abstract for every article. So the display is not nearly as condensed, but you do have the option here to just kind of go through and see like, okay, well, here's the whole abstract. This looks good. This is something I'm going to want to find. This one, yeah, I think maybe I want to look at this one. And then now it's working where it should take us right to the PDF. There we go. So that is another option. There are different ways you can play around with the results so it fits whatever you want to see first in your results. For example, there's also the sort by option, and the best match option that it goes to by default, that is a algorithm that is, trying to give you the most relevant results. But of course, that doesn't always work. It isn't always useful. So you could also sort by like most recent, and that then would show you the most recent additions to PubMed. So you're getting the newest possible research. So this one, it looks like was published 5 days ago. So that is certainly an option. I'm going to put this back to summary and best match for now, but these are always things you can change. All right, there is also a date function over here. So we have a slider bar. If you want to limit the date to like the last 5 years or 6 years, you can slide it there. Or it might be a little difficult to kind of see the nuances when you get up here in the more recent years. So if you go down, there's a radio button. You can just select 1, 5, 10 years, or you can manually input a custom range. So if I select 5 years, that took out, I think, almost 1,000 results right there. So that is an option. You also have filters available for article type, a certain population. If we go under additional filters, you can choose other filters you want to display, like the language of the article, species, sex. So any of those you can check, and then they will be displayed in the filters here on the left, and then you can check those boxes. All right, everything understandable so far? If you have any questions, I'll just pause for a second. We're going to move on to mesh next. So if you have any burning questions about this area, please feel free to let me know. I'm going to just close out some of this other stuff while we're doing that. Okay, looks good. Excellent. All right, well, if you think of something again, you can always let me know later. All right, so we're going back to the slides for a second. And the next slide is for mesh. So mesh, every time I talk to someone in a research consultation, I will say, are you familiar with mesh? And they get this look that's a little bit like, oh, I know I should be familiar with mesh, but I'm not really, and I'm like a little embarrassed. And no, it's okay if you haven't really used mesh a ton or you're not sure how it works. That's completely fine. So medical, MESH stands for medical subject headings. It is a controlled vocabulary, which is library jargon for like a very specific list of terms that has been decided upon in a certain field. So you can think of these kind of like tags that are applied to the citations in PubMed. It's so instead of being tagged in library jargon, it's called indexing. So as articles are published and brought into PubMed, then an indexer is going to apply mesh terms to that article. So this is a really handy tool because this can help you find results you might have otherwise missed. Sometimes authors are going to use different words or even different spelling variations to talk about the same idea. When you think about the difference between British English and American English, there can be a lot of spelling variations that could trip you up. Also, using mesh combined with keywords will get you really strong results most of the time. It's a good option to find really strong results because you're kind of approaching it from two different ways. So and I just wanted to say we never want to restrict ourselves only to mesh because you know, like I said, when an article is published, there has to be an indexer who applies the mesh terms to it. And that takes some time. So you might be missing one of those 5-day-old articles if you are only using mesh terms. Also, human error is a thing, like that is possible that something was indexed incorrectly. And mesh terms, you know, we don't want to only restrict ourselves there, but also, you know, if you're including keywords, that can kind of give you a fail-safe there. So hopefully, even if it wasn't indexed correctly, you know, it does have a good descriptive title and or abstract. But mesh terms can also help you, like if the title is not descriptive. Sometimes people write really vague titles or like you know, metaphorical titles or something like that. But and like if the abstract is missing, you may not know what is in that article unless it's indexed with the mesh terms. So we're going to go back to PubMed and we will look at how you can use mesh. So let me find that window. Okay. So going back to the PubMed homepage, there is always a link that says mesh database right here on the homepage of PubMed. And then on like a results page or something, or if you're looking at your search history, there's always a tiny little link at the bottom that says mesh if you need to get there quickly. So I'm going to click on mesh database. And this is just searching for mesh terms. This is not going to search for articles. So for example, if we search for ovarian cancer, so we have quite a few things in here like, you know, ovarian cancer immunoreactive antigen, hereditary breast and ovarian cancer syndrome. So some of these are like really granular aspects of ovarian cancer, but the general term for ovarian cancer is ovarian neoplasms. And we can kind of see what it is based on the description it's showing here. And if we click on it, we can see that description, we can see all the subheadings, and then it'll show us the entry terms. So if you go into PubMed and just do a very basic search for cancer of ovary, it is still going to try to link in this mesh term to give you the most relevant results. But the reason we would look at this is we might want to include some of these as keywords because we think of what we're trying to capture if mesh isn't working for us. Some articles might say ovarian neoplasms in the title. Some might say ovarian cancer. You know, some of these terms might be a little outdated, so maybe you only want to use the most like current ones or the most popular. You don't really have to use all of them unless you're doing something like a systematic review, but it can help you find more results. So what we do from here to use the mesh term, I'm going to click this button that says add to search builder, and that puts in the specific syntax we need to search with this mesh term. So it gives us the mesh term name in quotes, and then it also gives us mesh in brackets after that. So even though I pretty much know how to do that, like I know what the brackets are supposed to say and everything, because I do this all day, every day, it's way easier to just go into mesh, I think, and hit add to search builder. So it'll give you that syntax automatically. Also just to check that the mesh term is called what you think it is. So now what I'm going to do before I do anything with this is I'm going to add in some keywords like we had talked about. So whenever you're connecting things that are in the same concept, you want to use the word or between them. So I'm going to do, we already have the mesh term in there, so I'm going to just manually type in or ovarian neoplasms or ovarian cancer or what was another one down there? Ovary neoplasms? Sure, we'll do that. Whoa, let me just turn that on. Okay. So I'm not trying to be incredibly comprehensive right now. I just want to show you a few examples of what you can. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? No? Okay. You can? Amelia, can you hear me yet? Oh, good. Just want to make sure this isn't for everyone. Amelia already knows this stuff, but like, you know, I still want her. Okay. All right. Well, if it's no one other than Amelia, she'll start troubleshooting that. But yeah, that's weird. Okay. So like I was saying, I just want to get a few examples of keywords here as just so you can see what this is supposed to look like. So we have the mesh term for ovarian neoplasms, but we do have it as the keyword. So again, we want to do it on both, and then we can add in other keywords. Okay, so from here, I'm going to search PubMed. And I really don't care about the results yet because I'm just looking at anything regarding ovarian cancer, which is going to be very broad. So I haven't even gotten into like, what do I want to learn about ovarian cancer? And if you already have a strongly written research question, that will be pretty easy to figure out. But so for my example, I'm going to look at radiotherapy and ovarian cancer. So I typed something wrong. Okay. I'm like, this little did you mean is definitely pointing to I typed something wrong. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have all of that there. But again, I don't really care about the results yet. So I'm just trying to get this in my search history so that I can play with it and combine things later. So now if we go back to mesh, I'm going to look for radiotherapy. And we see radiotherapy, the term, we see it as a subheading. It was probably a subheading of ovarian neoplasms. Other granular things about radiotherapy, but we just want the main one, at least for my purposes today. I can add this to the search builder. And then again, I'm just going to kind of peek at the entry terms here and see if there's anything I want to appropriate as a keyword. So we'll do radiotherapy or, so we already have it with the mesh term because I hit add to search builder from this page, but now I'm going to also include or radiotherapy or radiation therapy or radiation treatment. I would probably also put these in the keywords. I would probably also put them in quotation marks, but I don't want to do that yet because I want to explain why. So we'll get to that in the next section, but just as a heads up. All right, so now I'm going to search PubMed. And again, don't care about just the results for radiotherapy. So again, I just wanted to get this into my search history. So when we go to the advanced search page, then we can start combining things because we see our history here. Emma, I'm going to come back to that one, I think, or if Amelia can answer it, I'll let her do that. Well, actually, no, now I'm thinking about it. So, okay, great question. If it is close, if you search it in the mesh database, so what if the topic you searched is not close to the topic you have in mind? Like, do you mean if the word you searched is not close to actually what the mesh term is, just in terms of like words? I hope that makes sense. Okay.
Hear me?
Yep.
Oh yeah, right. So let's say that I search for mobile health, and what I have in mind, yeah, there's two results.
Mm-hmm.
What I have in mind are more like, I tried different ones like Fitbit and those kind of things. So I searched digital health, and that one has no result at all. But I don't think telemedicine or mobile health units, which I clicked into, like describe, let's say, devices such as Fitbit or like Apple Watch. So what should I do in this case?
Yeah, well, sometimes you do have to play around with it, and I assume you looked into this by like clicking in there and seeing, what the descriptions are, yeah, I understand what you mean. I would I don't know. I don't know what the term is for like a device, like a wearable health device.
Yeah.
I actually might in this case just go back to oh, where's the PubMed homepage? I might just go to the PubMed homepage and then this is like kind of a cheat, but this is what I would do because I honestly think it's probably fastest. I would probably just search for Fitbit and find something that's about Fitbits and then look at the mesh terms. So I don't know if that's like the textbook way to do it, but I think it's pretty fast. So if we, 1 second, Shahida, we'll get to you next. But if we click on this one, Fitbit-based interventions, you can scroll down and it'll say mesh terms, and then that'll jump you right there.
Oh,
So
gotcha. That's very
it,
helpful. Thank you.
oh, good. Sure. And it is possible that there is not a mesh term for that. Like different controlled vocabularies have different focuses. So, and it is possible that like there just isn't one. And if there isn't one, then you will want to do something with just keywords because that's the best you can do. Like you might be able to apply a mesh term for another aspect of your topic, but yeah, you would just have to use keywords. But it's really interesting because like, depending on what your topic is, you might be looking in other databases besides PubMed, like PsycInfo or something. And I'm not going to get too into that here in this class about PubMed, but for example, the PsycInfo controlled vocabulary is so much more granular, especially when you're thinking about like topics that kind of border on psychology. Like there was one I was working on with postpartum depression, and they had it just like very descriptive controlled vocabulary terms for postpartum depression because it makes sense. They're focusing more on the psychology aspect of it.
So is it, sorry to
Oh,
ask more
yay.
questions, but is it okay to think of mesh terms as like the bigger branches of a topic and the control vocabulary or keywords? I'm not sure if they're the same thing, as like smaller detailed tags that get added on top of your
Uh,
branch that is already mesh.
yeah. So the like the hierarchy. Oh, thanks, Amelia. She found one for wearable electronic devices and one for fitness trackers. Awesome. So if we look at the hierarchy for, oh my gosh, why is nothing working correctly for me today? If we, all right, let's just look for it.
And it's
Wearable.
okay if we like keep going and I can come back to this too. I just don't.
Sure. Yeah. Now I'm like curious. Okay. So see how in the hierarchy it has wearable electronic devices and then fitness trackers. This hierarchy only applies to mesh. It's not like universal across different databases. So I'm not sure I understood what you meant between the difference between controlled vocabulary and keywords, or was that the question? Like, what is the difference?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I missed like the first 10 minutes
Oh,
of
that's
today,
okay.
but I wasn't sure what's the difference between mesh and keywords.
Yep. So mesh is the controlled vocabulary is defined by the National Institutes for Health. So this is like the very specific list of terms that they have um, for that they're applying to different articles. So it's like if you have an article about heart attack, the mesh term is myocardial infarction. And if you bring in that mesh term when you're searching, it's going to help you find more results than if you were just using myocardial infarction as a keyword or heart attack as a keyword. So if we go back to looking at our search history, so the only mesh term we have in here right now is like radiotherapy as a mesh term, and we have ovarian neoplasms as a mesh term, but we haven't brought in any other terms, like anything else that's in here with no brackets after it, that's just a keyword. So think of keywords are like just what you would put into Google, basically. Um, Except I know people tend to use, and I count myself in this too, people tend to use Google more of like, people will put in like sentences or sentence fragments. But if you were looking for something like, I don't know, like puppy training tips or something, that's kind of a keyword. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. Shahida, did you have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me? No, I didn't have a question.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I think you've already said that, but I was going to, in reply to Emma's question, I was going to say, if generally we don't find a mesh term, then we look into the literature about that thing and we see what other authors have used. And
Yeah. Oh,
the
sorry, go
other
on.
Yeah, and the other thing is that keywords, generally the journal people, like when you send an article for publication, they want your keywords to be included from a mesh term, like they would want specific keywords, they wouldn't want anything.
Um,
So that's why we
well,
look for keywords in the mesh, whether it's the first one or the hierarchy or lower down, but somewhere in there.
yeah,
That's all.
the hierarchy is really only like it's helpful sometimes because you might see something under it that you want to exclude. So maybe you're interested in wearable electronic devices, but not hearing aids, you know? So you might want to exclude hearing aids or just use fitness trackers if that's the only one you're interested in. Um, But when you submit keywords within an article, you are not submitting mesh terms like that. If your article is indexed in PubMed, then they're going to decide what mesh terms it is. So there are like maybe a keyword that goes with your article is way more like specific than something that would be in mesh, and that's okay. All right. Sure thing. All right, so let's keep going and then we'll do more questions later. If you have any like quick ones though, please feel free to type them in so I can get to them or Amelia. So Okay, so now what we're doing is we are combining these concepts that we already put in here. So we have ovarian neoplasms. I'm going to click the three dots and then click add query, and that puts all of that in ovarian neoplasms. And then, oh, I actually need to explain what all this is too. 1 second. And then I'm going to click add with and for this one. So this is going to do a search where we are combining our concept of ovarian cancer and our concept of radiotherapy. And then I actually do want to see the results on this one because this is the more specific search where you can see even from the titles, it's talking about both of these concepts and how they relate to each other. So let's go back though to the advanced search. By the way, we've kind of already gone into the advanced search area that I promised in my agenda, but so it is a good idea when you are searching to take a look at your results and see, or your search history, and expand the details. So if we look at when I searched medical racism, just a keyword, so this is actually everything that it is pulling in, trying to be helpful. So all of these variations of medical, medicalizes, medicalizations, medic, it's also pulling in, oh yeah, pharmaceutical preparations. And then it's pulling in the mesh term for racism and also other keywords related to racism. But so this looks like there probably isn't a mesh term for medical racism specifically. I don't think all of these keywords are particularly helpful here. So let's say I wanted to search very specifically for things that only had medical racism together as one term. So I'm going to type in medical racism in quotation marks. And then I'm just going to click add to history because I don't really want to look through the results. I just want to see how many. Okay, literally 26 compared to 3,000 when it was doing all this other stuff. So there are some other things we could play with that are a little too advanced for what we're doing today, like a proximity search where we could search for like the word racism within like 2 or 3 words of the word medical. So that might be helpful, but literally there are only 26 articles with this specific term. So that is interesting. So parentheses are for separating out your concepts. So when we did this bigger search on ovarian cancer and radiotherapy, oh man, I didn't want to expand that. Okay, let me just add this to the query builder again. Okay, so this is in parentheses for ovarian neoplasms. And that is because all of these, the mesh term and then these keywords are all related to ovarian cancer. So they're all together combined with the operator or in between them. And then in the parentheses here, these are all the terms that are related to radiation. So we are putting them in with the, it automatically, when I added them, put them in with the parentheses because it's basically treating it like a mathematical equation. It does the same thing that you would in an equation where it's saying, hey, do everything in here first. So find everything that is in, everything that mentions ovarian neoplasms, ovarian cancer, the ovarian neoplasms mesh term, and then find everything that mentions the mesh term for radiotherapy or radiation therapy or radiation treatment. And then once it has all of those, then find the things that have both. So that's why, like, it wouldn't be doing that correctly if it didn't have the parentheses. Yes, parentheses do not keep 2 words together. You have to use the quotation marks for that. Sure. All right, so what else did I want to show you in the, oh, okay, so we were talking about the details of the search. So this is really helpful to look at, and I'm going to give you a great example as to why. So this is just an example search, but like, let's say you were looking for something on CT scans of the brain, you might put in brain CT, and I'm just going to add that to the history. And we only get 5 results, which is kind of weird, right? But if we expand the details here, you can see that PubMed thinks this is an author. They think you're saying somebody named CT Brain, who apparently has published in journals that are indexed here. So that is completely unhelpful. So it's always a good idea to look at the results here, or the details, and see what is happening with this kind of automatic translation, which again is sometimes helpful, but I don't usually let it do that. Usually I will put in the quotation marks just to make sure I'm being precise, but you can always play with it and see what happens. But if you're ever like, wow, why am I getting so few results? That can be helpful to look at that and see if there's something weird going on. Okay, let me, oh, I also just wanted to show, yeah, if we search heart attack, and then I'm just going to add that to the history, then it does pull in the mesh term for myocardial infarction. It also does myocardial and infarction as separate keywords or together as a phrase. It also pulls in heart attack. So this one isn't so bad. The medical racism one was terrible. So yeah, it really depends, and that's why I don't tend to trust it. So is there anything else we want to talk about on advanced searching? Because we're coming up close to our time, and I just want to just point out a couple more quick things before we get to the end. Okay, and you'll still have an opportunity to ask questions if something comes up. But I just wanted to point out that as a quick tip for PubMed, I highly recommend creating an account. So this is a different account than your UIC account. You can't just sign in with your net ID, you have to actually create it. But if you click log in, it remembers that I usually log in with my Google account, but if we go down to other login options, then it'll say, if you're new, you have to sign up. So it will make you sign up with a third-party authenticator like Google or Microsoft or whatever. But it is really handy to have an account. I don't think we have time to like go into this in detail, but it will allow you to do things like save your preferences. So if you always want to see your results by default in most recent instead of in best match, it can do that for you. So that's really helpful. And it's also great for saving searches, because if you constructed a really great search on something and you like, if this is your main research agenda and you want to know when new things are published, it can alert you. You can save a search in there and create an alert, and then it will email you every X number of weeks or months. I think you can set it up and decide for yourself, and then you'll get alerts when new articles are published that fall under that search. Okay. I also wanted to point out that you are definitely not expected to use PubMed or anything else in the library by yourself. We understand that this is very complicated, even more so when we're a big research university with like 600 plus databases. So it can get overwhelming to know what's going to be the best. There are more databases beyond PubMed that might be helpful. So it's not just research. Also, like if you have questions on citation managers, data management, the scholarly communication, these are all things we can help you with in the library. So please don't hesitate to reach out. If you go under my nope, not my accounts, the thing next to it, contact us. If you go under contact us here, it will give you an option to send an email. You can schedule an appointment for research help, and you can suggest an item for purchase if you think we should have a certain book. So yeah, all of that is here to you, and the librarians are here to help you as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out if something gets fuzzy, which is totally normal. So I guess I made a slide for questions, so I guess we'll go back to it. But does anyone have any